and welcome to So You Think You're Awake, the show about life transformation through dream interpretation. I'm Michael Sheridan. On this show, through analysing your dreams, I reveal your potential and the obstacles you need to overcome. I'm very specific. I reveal your superpowers, what makes you magnificent, and the bumps in life that are holding you back. These bumps are not in the way, they are the way. To get your dream analysed on my show, go to dream-analysis.com, fill in the form there, and I take it from there. You just sit back, enjoy the show, and wait for your dream to be analysed. And thank you to everybody who does send their dream in. So what have I got going on this week? It's a busy week. On this Wednesday at noon, I will be talking to Mia Astrom. We did a live Facebook Live on Friday to talk about this. But we've got a webinar on Wednesday entitled Connect to Your Gifts and Life Purpose. And I'll be giving you some takeaways that will allow you to determine what your gifts are from your dreams. That's Wednesday at noon. If you want tickets to that, go to dream-analysis.com. There's a link on the website. And what else have we got? Valentine's. We had Valentine's yesterday. And how can you tell if you actually have found the one? If the person you're with is it? Do your dreams ever tell you? Well, dreams don't often tell us exactly what it is we want to know. They just tell us what's important. But you can tell from your dreams. If you have dreams about your partner dying, then that means that you think this person, guy or girl, is the one for you. And the dream shows up that way because you have now reached the point that you would be afraid for them to not be in your life. And that's what the dream of them dying is about. So if somebody ever tells you, hey, I had a horrible dream, I dreamt that you died in a car crash, it's usually always a car crash in a dream, then you know that's really good because it's symbolic. It's not about a prediction about you dying at all. So it's one of those dreams that worries people, but it normally happens right around the cusp of like you're dating somebody, you're happy, and then it just dawns on you that this is actually the person for me. This is somebody I can spend the rest of my life with. And so you start having these dreams. So it's just on the cusp of that change is when you have these dreams. So that's really cool. If your partner ever tells you that, then it's great. Unless you've been with them for years and years. I'm joking, of course. The point being there that they should already have reached that point. But it still shows that they worry about you not being in their life going forward. So like love rekindled kind of a thing. And we did a special. So I have a mentorship program that's been going on for about a year. I've taught 15 people how to channel and how to interpret dreams. And right now they're doing a special. It's a Valentine's special, but it's still going on today, so I can talk about it today. And so these are people that when they graduate, they're going to be charging $150 for a reading. But right now, they're giving away readings for $30. And if you buy one, you get one free. So that's basically $15 a reading. So it's 1/10 of the price that they're going to be charging pretty soon. Get in on that if you want, because it still is happening today. And they're experts. It's not like, they're still students and still practicing, but they've achieved the state now where they can channel and tell you whatever your guides are trying to tell you with regard to the questions that you bring to the table. All of them have no problem with that. So if you go to the website, dream-analysis.com/students, you will see, you'll be paired up with somebody there. And if you buy one reading, we will send you the promotional link to get the second reading for free that you can use for yourself, or you can give to a friend or your partner, whatever you want to do, your call. But dream-analysis.com/students. I got an email from Kate about last week's show. She says, I just listened to your latest podcast. Thank you so much for doing an analysis of my flying dream. And that's the dream where she was flying with someone on her back and she was flying into the water. And I'd never seen that symbol before. And I said, I've seen the going into the water and I've seen the flying, but the two together. And I said, I suspect that means that you do guided meditations to help people introduce them to the spiritual field. And she says, you were spot on with the guided meditations / visualizations for clients on their spiritual path, and also with your insights into my mom. Okay. I started doing guided meditations about 5 years ago, but more frequently the past couple of years, now including vibrational sound with the guided meditations. Thank you, Kate. I've done a victory lap around the studio. I mean, you haven't seen me do it, but you can be rest assured I've done this victory lap for that. I'm only kidding, of course. I like the way you are adding things to it all the time. And this is the refinement of our spiritual gifts is really what it's all about. That refinement is also growth. So initially our growth is by overcoming the obstacles in our path, dealing with the traumas that cause us to have crazy dysfunctions. So heal the traumas. That's the biggest part of our growth. And then we step into using our gifts, and everybody has a gift, but we step into using our gifts to help others. And that isn't so much a big thing for us, but when we get to the point of refining, then it becomes big, because now we're adding in, we're bringing ourselves more into the mix of using the gift that we have in order to help others. So that's really good. That's the point of everybody who gets into the spiritual field. You're meant to get to that point where you refine it, and it really is about you, not necessarily what you learned and how you're applying what you learned, but making it your own. And we have another email from Judy, and she says, I just listened to your show talking about my dream. Nice to know you and I have swimming in the air in common. Yes, we talked about that last week. I have never tried to heal anyone long distance, so this is based on what I said in the dream. Don't you need or want their permission to do that? Indeed, I don't think I've ever tried to heal anyone. Pray for them, yes. Hold them up to the light, yes. But heal, I don't think so. And so I included this because there's more of her email here, and I'll go through it. But she says, don't you need somebody's permission to do absent healing on them? Absolutely you do. But even if you do have somebody's permission, it's best to check with the guides and make sure it's okay for you to do that healing. Because just because I may want a healing doesn't mean it's in my highest and best good to get that healing. So when you can channel and ask the guides, you know whether you should do it or not. And they will tell you what way to do it if they say, no, we don't want this healing to be delivered. So they will always give you something that you can do. But yeah, it's a good question. But interestingly, you say, I pray for them and hold them up to the light. You also need permission for that. Anything that is influencing other people, you definitely need permission for. And think about it. Praying is where you're saying, dear God, or whoever you use, the highest power in the universe or in all of creation, could you please step in and change my friend from doing what they're doing to doing what I want them to do? So yeah, include praying for people in, do I need the permission? Absolutely, yes, you do. Can you overcome that? Yes, by praying and sending healing and love, etc. You can always send love, as long as the love has no attachment to it. You don't want to love them for them to have a particular outcome in something you want. Love is just loving them as they are, with no attachment and no desired outcome. That you can always do. But you can pray and you can send healing via their guides or via your guides if you're not able to connect with theirs, via your guides to be passed on to them. And they will organize that if that's what the person should get. You say, I've used my teaching and writing skills to try to influence people online or in emails or, of course, in class. And I didn't get details about that. I asked more. But don't you need to be very careful not to force something on someone? There is a fine line, I suspect, between influencing and forcing. Don't want to become a vampire. Very good. And we had vampires in the dream. So absolutely true. But if you're a spiritual teacher, what you find is what I find, a lot of people who are spiritual teachers hold back from helping somebody when they know very well how to help that person. But they hold back because they're afraid they're going to get karma. Because what if I get it wrong and I send the person on the wrong path? What if, and all these what ifs. And the reality is you get karma for not trying to help when you're a spiritual leader or teacher. Not the same as other leadership. Spiritual teaching is where you really listen to the person. You're open, you accept them in a non-judgmental way. You see where they are and you help them from where they are, which is really, really an amazing thing to see in operation. So if it's your gift to do that, then yes, you've already got the spiritual authority to help. And I don't mean force, I mean help somebody. And a lot of the time there, you need to realize where somebody is and help them using their terminology, not yours. So like I grew up in a very Catholic country, but I rarely use religious terminology. I find it off-putting. A lot of people find it off-putting, but a lot of people love it. And if somebody loves it, I use that terminology because I'm very familiar with it. And it's very reassuring to people. So it's just meet people where they're at. You're saying, I'm wondering what issue the dream was pointing to that I was asking for help from my guides. Why am I asking for help to carry the burden? Which burden? That part of the interpretation was a little hard for me to see what it was about. Okay, so this is in the dream. Judy landed on the ground. She was flying. All last week's show was all about flying. She was flying on the ground, in the air, landed on the ground, and her guide landed his light aircraft beside her. She got into the plane and went flying with him. So in that case, the dream is about channeling. Normally, dreams about flying are because we have something that's going on that's bugging us and pulling us down. And we have the flying dreams because it's us using one of our gifts to mentally rise above the problem. And so we always wake up feeling fantastic after those dreams, even if we went to bed feeling pretty down about something. And so I was asking there, what was the burden? Now I had asked Judy to come on the show, but there's such a gap in time, we didn't coordinate. So ignoring the burden, which may come to you, it's definitely going to also be about channeling because you are flying with your guide. And I say that in my book, even flying with a guide is about channeling. And you couldn't be more obvious getting into this aircraft for two, flying with your guide. So it's saying that I don't know if you channel, and that's why I was asking if you did something in the spiritual field. And you say you don't, which is now why I've also asked, what do you mean about the teaching and writing and so on? But what I find interesting, though, is obviously this dream then is about you channeling. But Judy is a friend of the show for some time, and there's another person, Julie, who is also a friend of the show, and I mixed the two up. And very interestingly, I got a question from Julie during the week as well, which is what made me realize, oh, that's what I've done. Because I knew Julie worked in the spiritual field. And I have her question, and maybe we'll get to it later on. But thanks for sending that. She says, I'm glad you are raising up the next generation of interpreters. And I've never had any kind of clients for spiritual work. Well, Judy, as a thank you for writing into the show this week, I'm going to give you a complimentary reading with one of my students, and you will get that in the mail. So thank you for that. And in fact, anybody whose dream I use on the show today, I'm going to send that to. So that'll be good. You say, or I have another dream then. This one is from Vanessa, and I've changed the name. She didn't use a pseudonym, but I've changed it because of a part in the dream. And I've used Vanessa is Austin Powers' sidekick in the first Austin Powers movie. And so if you think of Austin Powers' catchphrase, do I make you horny, baby? You will understand why I changed this person's name. And she calls this auditioning for the Cleveland Orchestra. Here's the dream. There is a young man in my home who is auditioning for the Cleveland Orchestra. So a man in her home. Nice. He walks out my front door and onto the street in front of my house. He is joined by another young man who is auditioning as well. The adjudicators come out from a house across the street and join the two young men in the road. All the adjudicators are men and the young men auditioning, and the adjudicators are wearing tuxedos. I join them in the street. The head adjudicator asks the man who came from my house to get his instrument. He goes into my house and comes back out with a golden French horn. There you go. Which he hands to the adjudicator. The adjudicator takes the instrument into the house across the street. When the adjudicator returns, the two men auditioning begin to sing short phrases as part of their audition. When the phrases are sung together, they create beautiful harmonies. The head adjudicator then goes into the house and returns with two French horns. They both have engraved designs on them, which is not typical for this instrument. The two young men then begin to play the phrases that they were singing on the golden French horns. So I've learned lots from working on this show. So I realize now that the French horn is no longer called the French horn. Since the 30s, it's called the horn. And so it's even interesting that Vanessa calls it the French horn. And I wanted to change the name because you said your name, that is, because you said French. And France is about sexual liberation in dreams. If it doesn't mean anything else to you, and it doesn't for this dreamer, it's about sexual liberation. It's about understanding who you are sexually and being uninhibited in that role. And France means that because the sexual revolution started in France. And so I'll work it into the meaning of the dream. So we have all these men, and we have competition, because adjudicators judge competitions. So there's competition in your life. And I asked Vanessa some questions. And I asked, do you play a musical instrument? I know you're an amazing singer, which is why the singing features in this dream. But I don't ever remember you saying you play an instrument. And she says, I play piano, and I played some cello in high school. And I also play a multi-stringed folk instrument, but not the French horn. So that's really what I was getting at. Do you play the French horn? She doesn't. And she is an amazing singer. And singing and music and playing musical instruments in dreams and the number 2 are all about channeling. And so we have that in the dream. We have the 2 young men, we have the 2 adjudicators, and we have the musical instruments, and we have the singing. But Vanessa's already a singer, so it wouldn't be enough to say it in her dream, is this really about channeling? But because we have the musical instruments, then we know it is. So what about, why do we have the French horn? Why is it that? And so it's about using, so when we have the men and we have the 2 men, so the dream is saying, look, when it comes to your approach in this area, you're being too male, because it's all men. There's 4 men there. So you're being too male. You need to bring your femininity into it. And that's why France is showing up in the dream. And if you think of yourself as a sexual being, and we all are, but think of yourself as a sexual being. When you turn on that power, how does it make you feel? How does it make the other people around you feel? And so for a woman to really, to be stepped and really shining that energy along with channeling is really fantastic, because it draws people in. It makes you very attractive, makes you alluring, and you're owning the stage, let's say, and people are just drawn to you because you're using your charm. And that's why that's in the dream. It's saying mix that energy into what you do, and you won't be male. You won't be too male, because you can't be, because a man stepping into sexual energy is different, completely different. So I hope I explained that okay. Anyway, you say, I asked also, where do you feel competition in your life? And you said, in the music business, there's always competition. Finding the next job, keeping the job you have. There's always up and coming younger musicians. So do write and let me know what you think about channeling, because I know you can channel, but I don't know how far you've gone with it. And what you think about using it as a career, because these people go out into the street, and the street is about career. So, yeah, particularly competition there. And then I asked, are you satisfied with your love life? And by that I mean expressing and not suppressing this part of your nature, and happy about it too. And she says, so funny, I don't have a love life right now. And in the past, my dreams have stepped in to provide sexual healing in times when my love life was pretty sparse. As to whether I'm satisfied with my love life, the answer is no. I do not have one right now. And with the pandemic, I don't see it changing anytime soon. And you said, I don't feel like I suppress my sexual nature, but I suppose my dreams are telling me otherwise. I don't think they are. They're bringing it in, because I know, Vanessa, I don't think they are. I think it's really about infusing that energy into the other work you do, rather than being like an amazing intellectual performer or singer or whatever it is. So let's move on. We have a dream from Olly. And he says, hi, Michael. The question I asked before this dream was, dear dream guides, what do you think of the idea to start a video blog or written blog about exploring spiritual ideas? Well, that's a good question. Here's the dream. I'm walking down a street in Oxford, perhaps, when suddenly a flood of water comes flowing along the road towards me. I quickly run into the nearest building, which is a bank, along with lots of panicking people. We run up some stairs to a balcony to find higher ground, but then the people start tearing the balcony down. And of course, when you're talking, a road that includes water, so driving alongside a river or canal or anything like that, or along the side the sea, is always about spiritual pursuits. So here you have the water in the road, so it's going to be that as well. But you're walking rather than driving. So it's not as good. Driving is better because you're going to achieve your goals quicker, obviously, in a car. But I'll come back to it. But you notice you run out of the way when the water comes. Then you say, I managed to jump upwards and find a purchase on the wall above the balcony as it falls away below me. I then let go and float off into the air, anti-gravity style, as the people watch. So there's a bit more, but I love that. So the bank is about the heart. So that's where you need to work. And then you say you find purchase on a wall above the balcony. So that's also about the heart. And the balcony is also about the heart, believe it or not, because it's about retreating into your head. So what you need to do is work on the issues that cause you to suppress your feelings, to suppress your ability to express how you feel. Now, I know you're a musician. I know you express yourself that way. But this is like, how do you really feel? If I was to ask you any questions, is your heart in the game, really? That's probably the way to put it. That's what you have to work on. That's what the dream is saying you need to work on. And then you let go and float off into the air, anti-gravity style. And so that's the flying in the dreams, like I said earlier. Funny we have this theme 2 weeks in a row because we haven't had it for such a long time. Again, it's about mentally rising above your problems. But again, it also shows that you're intellectual. I know you're also a teacher. So anyway, you say, I'm then back on the street and notice that there is no traffic at all. And traffic is career, remember? We've had that earlier on today's show too. There's no traffic at all. I need to find my phone, which I think I've left at the pub or a nightclub. Buddy, our dog, is trotting along obediently beside me off the lead. It's good that he's off the lead. I get to a road crossing where a policeman is directing people when to cross, waiting for the green light to show. Now, this is the answer. I'm a bit incredulous that he needs to do this as there is no traffic. However, I guess he has to do something. I ask him for help in how to find the nightclub. So the answer is the policeman is making you wait for the green light. So your guides, who's the policeman in the dream, is saying, you haven't got the green light yet. You got to wait. And the crossroads, of course, says that there's kind of difficulty ahead. This isn't a smooth thing just for you to go into. You have to overcome something. That's what a crossroads is about. But that's your answer. And then the rest of the dream says that, it's all about the heart, working on issues around the heart and healing those so that you can be in touch with who you are and express who you are. And this probably sounds alien to you, but unless you've done the work that it takes to get to where your heart is more open, you won't know what it feels like. And I often compare it for people. The best analogy I have is it's like riding a bike. When you can ride a bike, you know what it feels like to ride a bike. Prior to that, there is no amount of reading a book or anything like that is ever going to give you the experience. So an open heart is something you experience. When you've experienced it, you know what it is. Until you've experienced it, you have no idea what it really is. I mean, yes, we all, before therapy, we all have open hearts to a degree, but this is very different. So like your heart is in a protected space. That's what this dream is saying. And you need to fix that. And then when that's open, then that would be a better time to do this other thing. So yes, it does give you the answer, but probably not the one you wanted. And then I saved some of Olly's comments because he had a few. He says, I'm not sure if this dream provides an answer to my question. Yes, it did. However, I think the flood means that I need to move deeper into my spiritual dimension and that this will be through the heart. Correct. I'm afraid that people will tear me down if I do this. However, the dream might be saying there's no need to worry about this as I will be supported. It doesn't say that, but you will be supported. There's no question about that. The dream is saying that you retreat into your head. And that's what it is. So you've got it absolutely right. And I love the way you say your fear is people will tear you down. And so that's something you need to overcome. And I didn't say it in the dream because I wanted to read it from your comments. And then you say, traffic is often about career, so maybe some change will happen here. I'm pretty sure that the policeman is my guide. And although I'm a bit incredulous, it's hopefully a good sign that I'm asking them for help, which I am in waking life. Love the show as always and learning lots. Many thanks, Olly. Okay, so you have it. I had that. I had a similar dream many, many years ago. And in the dream, I was told to wait for the call. I was entering into a hospice. I was going to be working with terminally ill people. That's what I thought I would do. And I was stopped at the gate, and a nurse in the little box at the gate said, we have to wait for the call from the main house. And so basically saying, this isn't the time. Now, 30 years later, I still haven't got that call. I have worked with some terminally ill people, but I haven't got the call to do that work that I think may still be coming. But yeah, I love your dreams. I love how you analyze them and how accurate you are with your analysis. And that makes my job much, much easier. So I'm going to skip ahead to a question from Julie. She says, I would love your help if you have a few moments. I connect with spirit guides and receive insight and guidance for people I channel for. I currently do this in person and online. I also channel for groups and online events, but I have really been wanting to try a radio style format where people can call in. I'm inspired by your radio show. Do you have any advice for me as to where to start? And the answer is yes, indeed. Have you contacted talk shows? There are also websites dedicated to pairing guests with shows. And I expect once you try that route, you'll have an endless supply of opportunities about being on other people's radio shows. And I can tell you from experience, it's far easier to be the guest than to be the host. So if you have a bit of brain fog or you need to stop and think, the host will fill in for you. Whereas when it's your show, everything's on your head. So I've answered that quickly because we're out of time. But that's my show for this week. Thank you for listening in. Do go to dream-analysis.com, download my dictionary. It'll put you on my list to find out about events. Remember, I'm doing a webinar with Mia on Wednesday at noon Pacific time. And today is the last day that you can get the 2-for-1 special, buy one, get one free, channeled reading from students on my course. Go to dream-analysis.com/students. See you next week. Take care.